94.3 WiNX FM, the morning show. Hopefully you enjoyed your Memorial Day, and it's not too early to start thinking about college planning, no matter if you have a senior that's getting ready to graduate or maybe you have a junior in high school. So we have got Betsy Greeny with us from College Placement Consulting, and good morning, Betsy.
Good morning, Mark.
This has been quite an unprecedented time for all of our high schoolers and non-high schoolers alike. And you guys have been in business for how long?
We started before the current class of 2020 was born, so over 20 years.
And that means you've never seen anything like this. And for those that don't know what College Placement Consulting does, why don't you help them out and let them know?
Well, the way I look at it is we try to provide the guardrails, for the students to drive the bus for what they're going to do after high school. But we want to make sure that they don't step on any landmines, that we know kind of what is ahead of them. So as they're making their path, we can give them guidance. Our definition is pretty simple. We want kids to, after high school, leave home and explore new regions, graduate college on time, which means 4 years, not 5 or 6, and then become financially independent after their undergraduate degree, so they're not drowning in student loans and coming back home to live in mom and dad's basement.
And how does College Placement Consulting help high school students and families do just that?
We meet with students regularly. I try to tell the parents, our job is to allow them to have a higher level of discussion with their student, so that our job is to make sure they're doing the things that they need to do to build their high school body of work, so that they have as many options as they possibly can when it comes time to decide on what to do after high school. So that might mean just some nudge on making sure that they're doing their work in high school, developing relationships with teachers so they can have strong recommendation letters, looking at the standardized tests and seeing if they need to study for them, and if so, how much, and then nagging them to do it. Helping them think a little bit more deeply about what kind of schools might be a good fit for them based on their learning style, their program of study, and not just looking at size of school and what the weather's like there and whether they have a good football team. So we spent a lot of time trying to help them introspectively think about good fit schools.
Speaking of good football teams, Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame, and the University of South Carolina both announcing that they're going to start allowing students back onto the campus in the fall. But those are just two of the many, many, many colleges and universities out there. I guess right now it's a changing environment. Are there anything that parents should be concerned about, or do we see a change in college admissions on the rising?
Well, we are all drinking from a fire hose right now, so the more information that parents can access and read, the better. A couple big trends that people may already have known of. For one example, a very large percentage of schools are moving test optional. For our bucket list of about 400 quality schools, about 60% of them are test optional. And some of our students are thinking that's just a panacea, that they don't have to worry about standardized tests. And, if parents are looking to have their students apply to schools that are generous with merit scholarships, they still need those tests in their back pockets, so those schools are going to want to try to bribe them to come. So, one piece of advice is don't think test optional means, your road to college admissions is that you don't have to take the test. That would be one example.
So highly recommend still taking the SAT and the ACT, and those tests, of course, they have reintroduced test dates and what have you. And right there at College Placement Consulting, you guys help prepare these students to take these tests.
We do. We have an academic section of our firm that works specifically with students on mapping, based on their school list, how much gas in the tank do they need on that test. We do diagnostic tests for all of our students to see where they are today if they were to take the test in a real-time environment, and then we give them guidance on strategies on how to attack the test, how to deal with time management on the test, and then give them goals every week to work towards so that they're motivated internally to do that work so that they have the most confidence as possible when they're sitting there taking that test.
Talking with Betsy Greeny from College Placement Consulting here on 94.3 WiNX FM. I tell you, juniors, this is the time I would imagine that they start thinking about their college, if they didn't start thinking before, but you're kind of in crunch time. What do you think juniors should do now to help them be successful? And at what point should a student or maybe family consider contacting College Placement Consulting?
Well, my first point with juniors is you should have a frank discussion with your parents about what they can pay for college. You don't go look at houses without understanding what type of mortgage you can afford. I am passionate, as my husband and I are putting 3 kids through school, about mapping out a plan to help students create a balanced list of schools, not just for getting in, but what will the likely cost of attendance be based on need grants and merit scholarships. We want to make sure that students, when they are looking at their decisions come April of their senior year, they're not looking at schools that can only admit them if they have an unsurmountable amount of student loan debt. So I think if parents and students can have that first dinner table discussion, mapping out here's what we can contribute, here's what's a responsible amount of money for student loans, here's what you can do academically to try to get colleges to bribe you to come, and then let's make a college list based on those parameters first.
Wow, all great advice there from Betsy Greeny, College Placement Consulting. Now, these current seniors, they're getting ready to graduate and move on. Some going to college, some maybe waiting to go to college because of the uncertainty. What will college look like in the fall for them, do you think?
It'll be a school-by-school basis. You had mentioned University of South Carolina. Interesting. They're going to take an approach where you get on campus and you're going to stay there until Thanksgiving. So we're not doing fall breaks. Once you are on campus, we're not sending you out to go back home and then possibly bring the virus back into the campus. Once Thanksgiving, once you go back home for Thanksgiving, you're going to stay at your house and you are going to do your studying for exams and taking your exams online, because that is when, in early December, there's a concern with the flu season and the virus kicking back out into the community. So I thought that was pretty interesting and fairly smart to say once you're here, you're here, and then when you go home for Thanksgiving, you'll stay there for the rest of the semester.
Wow.
I do. If I could say one thing, I do think for students who are considering deferring admission, they should make sure that they understand if they can retain their merit scholarships. So if sometimes a student would say, I'm not going to go to my school that I was planning on in the fall and I'm going to take online courses instead, they need to understand from the admissions department if they then would be considered a transfer student instead of a first-year student.
Oh.
Because if they're a transfer student, they're typically not offered merit scholarships, and they can be shortchanged on housing or last in line for class choices. So just be very careful when you're talking to admissions about whether you would be deferred and enter back in as a first-year student with the merit scholarships that you were afforded, or if you would be treated as a transfer student if you were taking online classes next semester.
Betsy Greeny with College Placement Consulting. How can they get a hold of you? Where can they get more information?
Just check out our website, www.collegeplacementconsulting.com. Everything that we do is there. There's a link to set up a free session with me if you'd like to. We do it by video chat right now. We've been video chatting with all of our students for over 3 years, because we work with kids not only in Talbot County, but in other counties on the Delmarva Peninsula and other states throughout the country. So we can video chat. Just grab a link, set up a session with me, and I'd be happy to see if we can help.
Well, thanks again for your time. Very informative, of course, and best of luck to you. We know that you're getting busier by the day.
Well, a shout-out to our class of 2020. We had 65 students who earned over $14 million in merit scholarships and need grants. So they really did an awesome job, and we're proud of them.
CollegePlacementConsulting.com. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mark. You too.